Last week, we talked about creation and how God, from the effulgence of His own Trinitarian love, decides to create creatures as diverse as archangels and ants, and they all owe their existence to a God who created and sustains them by His love. One creature in particular, man, is created with a specific purpose or end in view. That end is to commune with God, in whose image he was made. Unfortunately, due to his fall, man's communion with God was interrupted. Man was estranged from God due to sin. If man is ever to reach the end for which he was created, he must return to God. Unfortunately, his sinful state limits man's freedom to respond to God's invitation to communion. Man's freedom to respond must be restored, and that can only happen when God, Creator and Redeemer, reaches out to heal man with His divine grace. It is grace that heals the wounded soul, and more than this, raises it beyond its natural capacities in order to have communion with God. This is why we must understand grace as providing a freedom from and a freedom for. Grace first provides a freedom from sin, and ultimately even a freedom from death. But if we stop there, our understanding of salvation and the work of God's grace is incomplete. Salvation is not merely a freedom from, but it is also a freedom for. By the gift of grace, the capacities of the human soul are elevated beyond their natural abilities. The soul, by this grace, enjoys supernatural ability. Grace enables the person to love God in a bold new way, not as a servant, but as a friend. Grace enables man to have communion with God, that communion which was lost with the fall. This friendship, founded upon God's gift of grace, involves a change in the heart of the believer. If friends like and dislike the same things, then the friend of God should be conformed to the will of God. The true, the good, and the beautiful are the things that the friend of God must pursue. It is in seeking these in this life that we prepare ourselves for the next. Indeed, our vision of God in heaven will vary as to the extent that we have cooperated with God's grace in our pilgrimage here on earth. This is where the Christian must disagree with the teaching of Aristotle. According to Aristotle, human beings are not capable of being friends with God because of the inequality between God and humanity. Aristotle did not know about grace and its elevating effects, however. The Catholic theologian, illumined by the revelation of the Christian tradition, understands that grace elevates the natural capacities of the person so that communion with God is indeed possible. By grace, we can become friends of God so that, just as Adam and Eve before the fall, we can walk with God in paradise. But why does God reach out to man in his sin and brokenness? It is because of love. For God loved us while we were yet sinners, and from the depths of that infinite love, a plan for man's restoration is put in motion and culminates in the Father sending His own Son to be our Savior. And God so loved the world. Till next time, God bless.